Oh, there it's being recorded. Perfect. Thank you for remembering that, because I never remember these things. So really appreciate your time tonight, taking 2 hours out of your time. If you're brand new to this meeting, we do it the week before the semester starts, 3 times a year. So the next one, I will tell you already, is going to be, this one's a little tricky, and I just learned that I can email all of you myself. So I'm going to send you a reminder mid-December, but the next meeting for this is Tuesday, January 2nd. So that's going to be a little tricky because none of us are going to be in the mindset of coming back to work yet. But we do it on the Tuesday before the beginning of each semester, and it's our 3 times a year that we get all of you in one place. We're from all different departments, undergrad, graduate, nurse practitioners, clinical nurse specialists, nurse educators, simulation. So we're from all different departments. And so it's nice to come together and put some faces to some names, and we offer an educational offering for you. So we're very excited tonight. We're going to have an educational session on artificial intelligence, because this is the hot topic right now. So Brianna Pack, who teaches in nursing and public health, is going to present to us tonight. So I'm Amanda Thurman, and I am the associate chair of the Advanced Practice Nursing Programs, and also the co-chair of this Faculty and Professional Development Committee. My fellow chair is Dr. Bridget Miranda, who I believe is still on vacation this week. So you get me for tonight. So just a quick update on the agenda. Dr. Poza is going to give us some updates in the School of Nursing, and then we will have Jeff give updates that interest you very much, because you need to know how to do your job. You need the tools of how to do your job. And so that's been another really nice thing about this meeting is, you know, how do you put your time in, and how do you get your contract, and all the nuts and bolts, because we need you all so much to run our programs. You're so valuable. We don't ever want you to feel like you're not, you're left out there to do your job alone. And, you know, if you ever feel that way, please reach out to your lead faculty, your director, your chair, whoever you need to, because we cannot run this program without you. So I'm going to open with one of my favorite scriptures and a word of prayer to kick off our evening. And it's from Isaiah 41:10. And do you know how many times in the Bible it says, do not be afraid? Many, 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 many times. And so whenever I am up against something that stresses me out, or I don't feel like I can surmount, I just think of how many times Jesus told us, do not be afraid. Usually after he says that, it's a calling to do something, but it means that he will go with us and will always be there. So Isaiah 41:10 says, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And I am very grateful to work at a university where we can proclaim these verses and comfort our students with verses like this as well, whatever their faith background is. And as you know, we have students with diverse faith backgrounds. And so I will pray for us, and we'll get on to the business. So will you bow your heads with me? Lord Jesus, we thank you so much for this time. Thank you for this group of wonderful, passionate, dedicated educators that love students. And I thank you for this time carved out. And I pray blessings on this evening, that questions would be answered, that processes would be made clear, and that you would guide us through understanding what we should do with this new technology of artificial intelligence. It's very exciting, but very scary at the same time. We pray your blessings on this evening. Thank you again for this time, and we ask these things in your name. Amen. All right. Dr. Pose is next, I believe.
I think so. Thanks, Amanda. So
yeah.
Thank you very much, Amanda, and to your Faculty Development Committee for putting this evening together, and to Ruth Milkey for our Associate Dean of Faculty Affairs, and Jeff for Director of Operations. I know it takes a team to bring us all together, but it is one of my favorite times, because I get to see faces and names and not just signing your contracts. So most, logistic wise, most of the contracts have gone out. I still have a few that's sitting in my queue. So don't fear. There's still some more contracts going out, but it's always a great time to be together and to see one another, and to, whoops, did I lose you?
Somebody is sharing screen. There we go.
Okay.
We're back.
So it's a good time to be together, and both in connection with each other, and in also a time of faculty development. As I look at many of you, you know, you continue to provide a much needed wealth of information and support for our students, and have done it year after year. And welcome to the new adjunct faculty. Welcome to this community, and we're glad to have you on board and with us. So let me just give you a little bit of an update from a university perspective, and then we'll go into the School of Nursing, and I won't take too much of your time because I know we have content to get to. So last year, I'm entering into the second year of an interim dean's position. And as I reflect on the past year, we started last year with the theme of hospitality. If you think about where we were in healthcare and even in nursing education a year ago, and coming out of the pandemic, and re-engaging with each other, and as we move forward into this year, looking, one of an impactful report for me was the Surgeon General's report this year. And if you haven't read that document, I would encourage each of you to take a look at that, because it speaks to the impact of social isolation and loneliness on the health of our communities. And so as we move through this idea around hospitality and coming together in warmth embrace as what we do for our students, I think this year we will focus on one of our cornerstones here at APU, which is the cornerstone of community. And I think it ties nicely with the university, because tomorrow will be the university's kickoff for full-time faculty and staff. And the passage that was chosen this year is Romans 12. And Romans 12 speaks to this idea of we all have our unique gifts and talents, but we are better together, and we come together in unity for the service of our Lord and God's kingdom. And so I hope that as we enter into this new academic year, and many of you are coming off a summer semester, maybe it only finished a few weeks ago. Some of you are still teaching. We have two programs that they will not finish until Friday, and semester starts again. The academic year launches on Monday. So I thank you for your dedication, your resilience, your continuing to show up for the students, and the impact that you have. It is amazing when you see our alumni and you hear all across the globe where our alumni are serving and working and coming alongside patients and families and communities with significant impact. And that's a testament to what you do in the classrooms and the clinical settings semester after semester to keep our great programs going. Our enrollment continues to be good, and probably even looking at the number of people in the room, I think our students are actually, we have a few more students this fall than we did a year ago, which tells me that maybe healthcare people or individuals are thinking it might be time for me to come back and pursue a graduate program. Our doctoral programs are seeing increasing numbers of nurses coming back for DNPs and PhDs, and we will be launching the BSN to DNP with the nurse practitioners this year. So we've got a lot of exciting things that are going on program wise, and really appreciate your partnership as the school moves forward. The university this year in 2024 will celebrate its 125th year. And the School of Nursing in 2025, we will celebrate turning 50. And so we hope that you will come alongside of us as we plan for some of our 50th activities. We look forward to developing a task force that we will have multiple events throughout the year in 24-25 as we celebrate our golden anniversary. I reflect back and I think it's been 27 years since I've been faculty at APU. And I always joke and say I started when I was 5, but in reality, it was 27 years ago. And this idea of community is what brought me to APU. And it's probably what maybe brought you to APU to teach with us. Somebody reached out to you and said, this is a good place to be. This is a good group of people to work with, and the impact that you'll have for the next generation of the nursing professionals and public health professionals is profound. So I hope you go back and thank that person that brought you within to the APU community. And I hope you really, truly do find community here within the School of Nursing. You might have seen my email that I sent out about a week ago. We lost one of our dear community members in Vianne Duncan this past week or so. And she was almost a 20-year employee and supported our traditional undergrad nursing program in the area of mental health. And she was also a board member for our Iota Sigma chapter of the Sigma Nursing International Honor Society. So we will be celebrating her life on September 2nd in the afternoon, 2 p.m. right here on campus in the Azusa campus in Upper Turner. Those of you that knew Vianne are certainly welcome. You may have friends and colleagues that would like to join us, so spread the word about that. We are in process of creating a scholarship fund in memory of Vianne. I remember sitting around the table in the traditional undergrad council meetings, and Vianne would be the one that would pass the jar around and say, all right, it's time to develop a emergency fund for those students that needed the final hurdle to get through to graduation. And she was so passionate about helping people succeed. And so I hope that we can establish this fund in honor of Vianne and collect funds so that we too can pay it forward to our students. And then finally, we are committed to providing resources for you as adjunct faculty. And we have 3 great speakers that recorded videos for you that we are going to make available to you. Oftentimes, it may be new for you teaching at a Christian university. And sometimes you think about, well, our sister schools like Point Loma Nazarene, Cal Baptist, Biola, there's faith-based schools, but what is the history and the underpinnings of Azusa Pacific University? And so we have a 30-minute video around just some of the historical, spiritual, Christian perspectives of APU, which come from a holiness Wesleyan tradition. And so we just want to make sure that you have understanding of that. You may have students that may have questions in your classrooms or clinical settings. And so one of the campus pastors created this video for you, and that's available to give you some understanding of our heritage and our identity here at APU. We also have a video done by one of our faculty here around this whole idea of artificial intelligence and ChatGPT, and what does this mean for your syllabi and your policies that you're going to set with students. And so that is certainly going to be available for you if you have questions in that area. And the third video is from our dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, who created a video for you on the intersection between faith and science. And so as we do more with our science colleagues, coming together in interdisciplinary work, I think it's helpful for us to have a better understanding of some of the things at a faith-based Christian institution where we have intersection of the sciences and our Christian heritage and our faith. So those 3 resources will be available for you. We are entering into a season of accreditation here at the School of Nursing. We are doing our mid-cycle national accreditation. So we are creating a report and are actively involved in working on that, which is why you might be receiving those emails of, please send us your updated CV or resume and some of those details that we need to provide our accreditors around the skill sets of you as faculty, both full-time faculty and adjunct faculty. But we also have a state BRN visit, and then following that in February, we have our program review for all of our programs that's due here to the university. As part of our program review, we speak to the impact of faith integration on our students in the classroom and the clinical setting. And so after my ask of you is that over the next 6 weeks, you will take 30 minutes and watch the video that Dr. Rugley has created, and then respond to 3 questions around the idea of what impact have you seen in the classroom or the clinical setting with your students in relation to some of the faith integration activities that you're engaged in. You can bill for the time that it takes to watch the video and to reflect on these questions, but what we will do with this information is it will feed into the report that we provide to the university around impact of faith integration within the School of Nursing. So thank you in advance for taking the time to do that and to help us with that. So I think that, did I go over my time? Probably, sorry about that. But again, thank you for all that you do for the School of Nursing. And if anyone in the dean's office, if there's anything we can do to help navigate and make your journey easier, just please reach out and ask.
Yeah, do we want to open it up for some quick questions for Renee? Here, does anybody have any questions where they'd like to unmute themselves and ask?
Just thank you for being here, Renee.
Thanks, Catherine.
I am trying to send out a poll and it will not let me do it. Amanda, do you have any other updates before I go in? I'm going to try and log in here, or maybe what I'll do is I'll do it before when we transition to Brianna, if she doesn't mind.
No, I don't believe I do. The only thing I would like to say is you can get a continuing education unit for the presentation tonight. So we have the evaluation at the end for you to fill out, and I can put that in the chat later, or Jeff, you will, or you can. You got to remind me is what I'm saying.
No problem. I'll do that as we move forward through the process, and then if for whatever reason, we will also send it by email to everybody that attended. Yep.
Perfect.
I have a quick question, if that's okay.
Please.
I just wanted to know, I'm looking to further my education as well. So I just wanted to know when that program will be coming out, the RN to nurse practitioner.
Oh, do you mean the BSN to DNP?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so this is where the nurse practitioner education standards have changed, and one of the things that you'll notice in nurse practitioner education is that it moved from a 500 hour to a 750 hour direct patient care experience. And so we have been working on redoing our curriculum to change how the clinicals look like for the nurse practitioner program. But the recommendation is coming out of some of the national bodies of that nurse practitioners entry to practice should be at the doctoral level. So that's the clinical doctorate. So I don't think we're the only school that is shifting to BSN to DNP. However, we're also cognizant that the state is continuing to certify or license nurse practitioners at the master's level. And so we are going to continue our master's program. So both of those programs are available now in the catalog.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Gada had raised her hand as well. Would you like to ask your question, Gada?
Yes, thank you, Jeff. And actually, I'm kind of curious, Dr. Posa, regarding the international concentration. I know we heard about it last time, and then I know we were definitely launching the program with international. So where are we, and what are the next steps with this program? It's very exciting to see it happen at APU.
Yeah, APU has had a long history and tradition of international activities, and we consider it one of our distinctives. Oftentimes at least half, if not 3/4 of our undergrad population spent a study away semester as part of their BSN program. And we offered this in places like South Africa and Norway and China. So our visitors, our connections in China will be coming the first part of October as we re-engage with an exchange program with China. Dr. Lesh and myself were in Norway in April, and our Norwegian visitors will be here in April with us. And not only will they be coming to start the exchange of the undergrad or the BSN students with Norway, but also there's opportunities for the master's and doctoral student exchange, as well as faculty research exchange with our Norwegian partners. That's out of a school that's both located in Bergen and Oslo, for those of you that have been to Norway before. And we're seeing a new partnership develop in South Korea with a university that's early on in that process, but I hope that you will see us launch some exchange programs again as soon as spring of 24. Good question, Gada.
Thank you.
Hi, can I ask a question?
Please, we welcome those.
Hi, it's Marjorie, one of the faculty. I just had a question based on what Renee was saying. Would we ever have an opportunity to travel abroad to mentor or collaborate with other programs?
Yeah, so all of our programs, when we do an exchange with students, they're enrolled in a course. So you do have to have faculty oversight of that course. Sometimes, depending on the opportunity, the faculty goes with the students, especially in our short-term experiences. When we say short-term, that's more like 2-week experience, 3 weeks, in another country versus a whole 4 months study away. I'm sure many of you, that would be a challenge to be gone for 4 months away from your family and friends and your work. But you might be more interested in one of our shorter term programs, which is 2, 3, sometimes 4-week programs. So we can make those opportunities available to you for those of you that are interested in participating in some of the international work.
Thank you.
Or if you have contacts that you would like to develop relationships with, I'm sure Dave Dorman would be happy to talk about it with you.
Yes, I do actually. In some of the Asian countries, that's why I was asking, and I had some medical professionals too in education programs, and I didn't know if there was a platform for that. But yes, thank you for the resources.
Anything else? Just seeing the chat, discount for adjunct faculty. So we have lots of different pathways for tuition benefits and scholarships. And so I'm going to refer you to the website where you can find those. Some of them is partnerships with places where you may be employed that offer tuition discounts. For some of our programs, we have the nurse faculty loan. So there's a couple different mechanisms that we have. So you should be able to find that information in the School of Nursing website.
Perfect.
All right, Jeff.
All right. Well, I think it's my turn. I'm almost done with recreating that poll that we normally ask at the beginning of the meeting. So I will send that at the end of my time. I will kind of slip that into the chat and go from there. But I am going to jump in. So for all of you that don't know me, my name is Jeff Holzmeyer. I'm the Director of Operations here in the School of Nursing. And I help to hopefully help to make all of the things that are not curriculum, not on the academic side, hopefully run smoothly. And so you will often work with my team of folks who are helping, hopefully behind the scenes, again, with making sure that your experience here is a positive one. Everything from the onboarding and the hiring, the onboarding process, to hopefully the things that you need behind the scenes. So I'm going to walk us through. Let me get my screen closed down here as I was trying to open a variety of things to try and get us going here. I'm going to share my screen and walk through and do a fairly simple walkthrough. This is our agenda. Hopefully all of you have access to this. I see about 30 of us that are in this agenda. This is the link that I included in the chat earlier. It is also in your calendar. It will also be in an email from Amanda Thurman earlier this week, as well as in our recap email to everybody as well. One thing I will say is I cannot see when I'm sharing, I cannot see hand raises or any of those types of things. So please feel free to interrupt me. I will not take offense to that. If you have a question, please feel free to interrupt, or a comment, feel free to just unmute and voice that out. So on the operations team overview page, which is linked in the agenda, one of the things that you'll see is that you'll see the team of people that are helping support you behind the scenes. And again, we have, most of you know Lisa, Jasmine, Kim, Jeannie, and Yi. Our current student worker at the moment is Pablo. He is often helping us with our Zendesk and our tickets and things of that nature, and helping us behind the scenes. But here's the way you can email us directly if you'd like to email us directly. More importantly, the faculty support systems that we are working on the back end is what I want to make sure that you're aware of. Most of this is new from over the last year and a half. And so I do want to just take a second and briefly go over this. So our help center, and here's a link to it if you're on the document. The help center gives you a link to where we are constantly updating articles. There is currently 114 articles that we have written on here to help you, from everything from the adjunct hiring process to timekeeping and chronos to change request forms when you forget the time to turn in your hours or timekeeping. There are a lot of sections here, and you're going to see a lot on my screen because I have access to viewing everything. But there are sections in here built for human resources and just a variety of areas in which you may have questions. And so I just want to make sure that you guys are aware that you can type in your question here or the topic you are looking for, and it will pull up the articles that we have written or linked to that. Also, you may notice that if you are not logged in, there are certain articles that you will not be able to access unless you are logged in. And obviously that is a data protection mechanism. So please, in the top right, make sure that you're logging in with your APU email address. That will give you probably 30 to 40% more articles than if you were not logged in. So sometimes you will have to notice that. Some of our more popular articles is one like our new hire welcome letter. For our adjuncts who have been with us for more than probably 3 or 4 semesters now, this is something you never saw. This was from Shana Chavez. She used to send a Google Doc with a variety of links on it. We have deconstructed that and embedded it into our articles. And so each one of you has access to our welcome letter, which clarifies what are all of those very beginning steps that you need to be aware of as you are starting your journey here as an adjunct with us. And so if you ever need to, that article is here with all the links, with all the questions, who to go to, what is the time frames, etc. Again, one of our more popular articles, just because of how much it shares within that. The other one that is a popular one is the contract process. That's another article that walks through what is the contract process. If you are not an adjunct who is regularly working with us every single semester, you may forget exactly what is the process. Hey, I have a question. What has changed? Those types of things, and you can find that here in these articles. One thing I want to share about the contract process is when you are getting your contract, when our team is routing that through, when you're getting your contract, if you are reviewing it and you see that something related to the pay rate is incorrect, please don't sign it. It takes almost 5 times as many steps to create an amendment to fix that contract once you sign it than it does to just delete or deconstruct or resend you a contract. So make sure you're double checking, make sure your degree is correct, make sure the type of work that you are being assigned is correct. And then from there, the hourly rate should be correct in that process. If your degree is incorrect, the way you fix that or solve that is email SON operations and just ask for verification of, hey, I believe I recently got my doctoral degree and I want to make sure that's reflected in my contracts. If you send that email to us, please include your most recent not transcript, but your degree verification, and we will put that into your personnel file and make sure that we change that information within TAMS. So once you update it with us once, it goes into our internal system, which is TAMS, which we'll cover here in a second. And then that way we're able to process that more efficiently on our end. The other thing that you may see is just learning what the workload. So every adjunct is allowed 24 units over the annual cycle, and you are allowed 8 units in a semester. And as a reminder, that means you should not be having more than, I believe it's 24 hours in a week of work, as well as you should not be going over 8 hours in a day. If you are going over 8 hours in a day, please make sure that you are getting written permission from your chair or the person who is giving you that assignment. As soon as you go over 8 hours in a day, that is going to incur overtime, which is time and a half. And you will want to make sure that you just have supervisor approval on those on that accrual of time and a half pay. If you go over more than that, at a certain point, I believe 12 hours, you will actually get double time. So be aware of that. Make sure that you're getting approval for anything that is outside the normal constraints of the adjunct workload. The next resource that I want to share with you guys is our employee website. The employee website is another place that has a variety of employee information. We are in process of at some point moving much of this information over to our articles, but it does take time. And so at the moment, you will find some information here that is not in our articles. On the left side is our navigation. And over here, you can see everything from our School of Nursing calendar, a link to our help center, orientation materials, governance. The other thing that you'll notice is in this website, we have information related to staff, full-time faculty, all employees. There are a variety of additional resources in here. At the bottom of this navigation on the left side, one of the things that I find helpful for most of us who do not go to these sites regularly is there is a link to our pinning ceremony site, our Evening of Excellence site, our research symposium site, and at the very bottom, our student website. Our student website also has a variety of information that you as an adjunct faculty may want to know. And that includes handbooks, guidelines, if there's PPE, N95, things related to a variety of announcements and things that are important for our students. So this is one of the areas that we will occasionally message out to students to make sure that we are informing them of things that have changed. In the teaching, let me just pause there real quick and just do a quick check-in. Any questions on the Help Center, the employee resources, before I move into TAMS? All right, I'm gonna keep plowing away. Feel free to interrupt me at any time. All right, going into teaching assignment management system. For most of you that already know this, we have started this process about 2.5 years ago. And what this is doing on our end is it is helping streamline and making more efficient how our administrators assign the workload of teaching across the School of Nursing. And as you can imagine, we have a lot of assignments that we have to manage across, I believe it's 9 academic departments, 27 academic programs on 5 different campuses plus online. So as you can imagine, that is quite an organizational challenge. And so this system has been very instrumental in making this more efficient over the last couple of years. What's important for you as an adjunct is that you know how to log into it. There are articles on this document that show you how to log into it, as well as how to bookmark it. And on the in the place of logging in, this is what you should see. you should see, and Catherine, I apologize, I'm using you as a guinea pig. But Catherine Heinlein's view, for example, would look like this. My view does not look like this, so I don't want to show you my view. My view will just confuse you. But this is what a normal faculty would look like. On the left side, you're going to see dashboard, teaching preferences, workload. Teaching preferences at this point are closed. We do offer and allow for all of our faculty to speak into what their preferences are. We do that in the month of June and July. So just note that you will see emails. If you're paying attention to your emails over the summer, we do give that opportunity then. If you speak into your preferences, our chairs and directors do get that information to process and can use that as a way of having a conversation. If you click on workload on the left side, this is the key. Our team, my operations team, will not create an adjunct contract for you that is not in TAMS. So when your assignment goes into TAMS from one of the administrators, that is what tells us to create an adjunct contract. And so we need all of you, as you are operating through this semester and the future semesters, that if you believe you are being assigned something in fall, spring, or summer, that you log into your TAMS profile and you verify that that assignment that you were verbally told or emailed is in TAMS. If it is not in there, we do not create the adjunct contract. So this is what you should see. You should see your fall, spring, and summer broken out. You will see up at the top that you are allowed or afforded 24 units of workload over the academic year. And then as you scroll to the bottom, you will actually see each of the assignments and so this top one shows spring, next one shows fall 23. So you can tell that she's already been assigned courses for spring, even though it's already fall. So again, our administrators can start mapping out that academic year way in advance. So just know that all of you have access. All of you should be able to go into your TAMS profile and you should see that it is accurate. What do you do if it is not accurate? If you feel like an assignment is incorrect, you need to contact your chair and verify what the assignment is that goes in there. My team does not put in the assignments. They generate the contracts. So if there is an assignment issue, that needs to be a communication that is handled with the person who assigns you those courses. Let me stop there
Jeff,
for a
I
quick
have
second.
a quick
Yep.
question. For the website that you were showing us, we have to have access to our APU email in order to sign in, correct?
Correct. You are not officially an APU employee with all of the systems attached to it until you get that APU email address and net ID. Correct.
Okay. So I know that Mildred put it in the chat for us to email her. Do we know how soon we'll get that? Get access to one?
I'm sorry, Mildred said what?
Mildred said to email her for everyone who doesn't have an email for APU yet. So I
don't know who
emailed her, but
No, I don't have an APU email. That's why I put it in the chat that please add me in.
Yeah,
So-
Jeff said for you to put it in the chat if you don't have one. So go ahead and notify.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
just let's back up just 1 second. So what I was asking for is if you do not have access to the Google Calendar in your APU email, please let me know so that I can verify that you are correctly added to our adjunct group, which is how we manage our communication. So for
Okay.
example, when we email out on these development workshops, we are emailing our adjunct work group, and that work group has all 500 and some adjuncts that we have active within our system.
Okay. All right then. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, no problem. This gets really confusing, and this is one of the reasons why I do spend some time on this. For all of you new, all of you that are going through the new process, I understand that the school starts next week. Please go into the article that talks about the contract process, and it will talk about all of the individual steps that it takes to get to where the APU email address is. The School of Nursing does not create APU email addresses. If you are invited to this meeting, APU School of Nursing has done everything that it needs to get you hired. The next step is adjuncts need to complete their I-9 documentation and their new hire paperwork. That again is laid out in that contract process email. Once you do that, then it takes 5 to 7 business days for HR and IT to create all of the records, as well as the net ID, the email addresses, the accounts, all of those things that go into the process of creating that step. And if you do have more further problems, feel free to contact me and I will happily walk you through it. It is a complicated process.
Hi, Jeff. Good evening. Is it okay for me to ask a question?
Oh, of course.
Yep. So, I'm actually from the PMHNP program, and before Professor Anderson left, before she retired, she told me that I would actually be assigned for 536 clinicals. And so I know we actually have a new department chair for the PMHNP program. I'm actually looking at my TAMS and I'm not seeing, assignment back there. But I do know I was told that I would actually be, going back to do 536 this fall. So whom should I contact? Should I contact Dr. French and CC copy you? So what do I do?
Yeah, that's a great question. At the bottom of my document is going to be an org chart. That will help you with the department chairs and the different leadership within the different spans of care. And then also, yes, you got it exactly right. Go right to the department chair. The department chair will help you right away know where you're supposed to go. And that can be Karen French. If it's in the APRN advanced practice side, it would be Karen French and Amanda Thurman.
Okay, all right. And should I CC copy you or just Dr. Thurman?
I have nothing to do with assignments.
Okay, all right. Sounds good. Okay, thank you so much.
Yep, no worries. As soon as your assignment goes into TAMS, my team is automatically notified to generate that contract within 24 hours.
Okay, all right. Sounds good. Okay, I'll be sending them an email as we.
Perfect. Thank you, Jerome. And if you run into challenges, you don't hear back, just reach out to me. I'm happy to help. Happy to help you guys.
Thank you so much.
So, Jeff, would it be okay if I just made a statement? Because you and I just decided today that I would be entering the TAMS assignments for the doctoral adjunct. So that'll be the DNP and the PhD adjuncts. And so I have not done yet that yet because, we just decided that this afternoon, which is kind of an innovation for our department because we usually did it some other different way. So once that happens, Mildred, you'll get a contract and then you'll be able to get an APU email. So that's kind of the step for how that works.
Thank you, Mary Lynn.
You're welcome. And the same thing goes for Angie if you're here. So I just wanted to say that so they know who to contact.
Yep. Yeah, thank you for doing that, Mary Lynn. Any of the ones that are teaching in the doctoral side, feel free to reach out to Mary Lynn to help clarify that. And then one thing I will add to that. So not to confuse everybody more, but again, this is more of an issue your first couple semesters that you get this learned in or dialed in. So there is the part where we need to get you an adjunct contract, which is how we give you the ability to get your access as well as your ability to put in your timekeeping. The second part is when you need access to the Canvas course or the resources in which and how you will deliver the course, that will go through a different system. So that will be done through your department chair. And that's how it is possible, right, to have one or the other, but not have both because those two systems don't talk. They are independent processes. Contract is different from contract and timekeeping is different from your Canvas course. So just to give you guys that understanding. All right. I'm going to keep going unless I see there are other hands. You can raise your hand in your participants tab at the bottom. There should be a way to raise your hand that puts you at the front of the screen for all of us people that are leading the section to know that you have a question, or you can just speak up. All right, awesome. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to keep going. If you guys have any questions, please try not to, in the best way that you can, please try not to spam the team that I listed at the top of that document. Try not to email them individually. We have a variety of folks who can answer most of your questions. And what we have created over the last year is a centralized email address to handle all of our team's questions. And that is at sonoperations@apu.edu. If you're following along the document, it's the faculty support systems number 4, sonoperations@apu.edu. It's our single point of contact for how you can ask any question and we can help you. Do me a favor. There is a few of us out there that are communicating through sonadjuncts@apu.edu. That is not a communication email. That is only for delivering contracts. So just know you will, when you are getting contracts, you will get something from sonadjuncts@apu.edu. Just know if you email that or you respond to that, we do not see those emails. That is a subsystem within APU in that sense. So just reminder, email SON operations if you have questions on that. Some of you have, I think, texted me or chatted me in the message system privately or publicly with a nuanced question. I will try to get to those at the end as we continue down through this. All right, I'm going to speed through the fall 2023 updates. Again, raise your hand if you have questions. Otherwise, I'll do this quickly. Dr. Poza already shared with you that you are going to get a variety of emails and communication from operations and others around the BRN and the program review that's coming up for this semester. Every single adjunct faculty, and full-time faculty that is teaching this fall will have to do a variety of forms and paperwork to make sure that it's all up to date. That is going to include the BRN form EDP 10. On the EDP 10, we must have an updated resume that is within the last 30 to 60 days complete. And then we will have to show all of your continuing education that you have done in your area of practice for the pre-licensure. The NP also has a form that is very similar to this. So there's an EDP 10 for the pre-licensure, and then there's an NP form for the advanced practice. And then we will include all assignments since 2019. And the good thing is I think TAMS has most of those pieces of information that we need. I'm sorry, assignments from 2019. I don't think that's accurate. I'm going to delete that. I don't think that's accurate. It might be 2019. I think we'll double check on that. So we will get that for you. Let's see. Next one is assignments and contracts. We have 490 current assignments in our TAMS system. Just so that you know, 270 of those are from adjuncts, and only 23 of those at the moment have not been processed. So if you do not have a contract, if you are in TAMS and you see an assignment and you have not received a contract, you are probably one of those 23 that have not been processed yet. My team was working on, I got that update as of about an hour ago. So we are still working on about 23 left. We also have about 50 more assignments that still need to be created from the administrator side. So we are anticipating about another 70 to 100 contracts to still go out over the next 2 weeks or so. Timekeeping, favorite subject ever, is Chronos and timekeeping. Let's see. If you are new to timekeeping and new to Chronos, please watch the training videos that are linked in this document. That is from HR, and it walks you through how to use Chronos. If you are familiar with Chronos, I cannot stress enough, there is going to be a time, it happens, we are all busy and we forget to add all of our hours, or we make a mistake before the pay period closes or after the pay period closes, and we cannot go back in and edit. If that is the case, please use the article, I cannot log hours in Chronos, and it will show you exactly how to do that. We in the School of Nursing have created a form that you do not have to print and sign. So again, I will state that one more time. If you go to timekeeping and ask them for the form, that form is going to be one that you have to print and sign. We have created one internally at the School of Nursing that is linked in our article that you do not have to print and sign. Just have to type your name in, and it's all fillable by computer. So if you can, I would suggest using that method. When you fill that out, if you follow the instructions, basically we walk you through all of those steps so that we can get you paid right away. As soon as you deliver that sheet to us, we will get you paid right away. One of the things that is more challenging is recording meal breaks. If you are not familiar with meal breaks, every single person who works more than 5 hours in a row needs to record a meal break. The only time you are not allowed to record a meal break is if you have received written permission from your supervisor that you are allowed to not take a meal break. It is a state required component in California that you have a meal break. In Kronos and through the article, we show you how to waive that meal break. It is very simple. It's 2 clicks. So if you would like to waive your meal break or you would like to not take your meal break, please watch that video so that you can help us not get dinged in the School of Nursing or through the state for those meal breaks penalties that we are receiving when you do that. Let's see, last couple things. Ooh, rate codes. A lot of you are going to get multiple rate codes. You are going to receive an email when this happens. Let me share my screen so you know what that looks like. It is going to be an email, and when you are going to see is a variety of options, and it's going to give you instructions and helpful tips. Until you get this email, you will not be able to put in the multiple assignments. So even though you have signed the second assignment or second contract, or you have multiple different rate codes and assignments and you know it's coming, you will not be able to do it until you get this email. So just as a side note, if you have multiple rate codes, you know it's coming, wait for the email. As soon as you get the email, you will put those in accordingly. If the pay period has come and passed where you have worked both pay periods, you will need to fill out a timekeeping change request form to get those hours correctly tagged in your previous workspace or your previous pay period. Sorry, not workspace, but pay period. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's see, what else do we need to cover? My team has done 783 tickets in the last 90 days. They have solved most of those in the first day. So again, I think the ticket system overwhelmingly is working. Can we do it better? Yes, we are improving and working on that constantly. Please continue to use that system versus emailing us individually. That will help us serve you faster. If you have questions at the bottom of the document, I have again helped with where you can go with those. If you get an email from me, my mobile number is on every single email I send out. You can text me and call me with any urgent problems. I will help you and walk you through it. Lastly, the last link that I have on there is the org chart. Again, there are shifts happening all the time in the organizational structure. There's been no big shifts over the last month or 2 months. But if you need to know who to go to ask certain questions, please use the communication ladder. That is fairly standard, right? Go to your director, then go to your chair. If they aren't solving it, go to the associate dean. If you don't have an associate dean, go to the dean. You can always use me if you need another resource of where to go with a question, but just continue to work the ladder if you're not getting the questions answered that you're looking for.
Jeff, I have a quick question.
Yes, please.
For the multiple rate codes, what is the subject going to be in the email?
Sure.
Please.
Yeah, no problem. I had to use a real life example, so I didn't want to show the people that were on that. It will say important transferring hours in Kronos for multiple adjunct rate codes, and then I'll give your name. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And it will come from that. Another good thing will be, it will come from HR Total Access. See, this is where it gets confusing. You have these group email accounts, but then they come from different accounts, right? So it doesn't come from timekeeping. It comes from HR Total Access. Hi, Gata.
Thank you, Jeff. Just wondering, when do we expect this email to come in?
Yeah, HR had a lot of turnover over the last 5 months or so. Not only have they had turnover, the restructuring, and again, they recognize that they have been slow to service our community, and they are working on hiring as quickly as they can. They're working on getting people in position, but it is definitely taking a few extra days. One, to get all of those new hires in, to process the multiple rate codes, to do those sort of things. So the first thing to do is make sure you have Your TAMS assignments are correct in TAMS. Make sure you've signed all of your adjunct contracts that you needed to get. And then after you signed the contracts, I would say it's probably about 5 to 7 business days before HR will send you that rate code, the multiple rate codes. And if you don't get it after that, please let us know. Please email S1 operations and we can either verify or give you the direct contact for it. Yeah, appreciate it, Gata. And again, I apologize, guys. I know all of us are taking a long time to get back to important emails. We're doing the best that we can. Appreciate your patience on it. What other questions do we have? All right, guys, I am going to sign off for my part. I am going to send you a quick 3-question Google form in the chat at some point here in the next minute or two. It asks really simple questions. If you guys can answer it, I will share the results of it with all of you so you can see. But it's going to ask you how many semesters you've adjuncted, what program are you in, and what locations. So just heads up that that's coming. Amy.
Yes, I had a question in the chat, but if we fill out one of those paper forms that we need changes in Kronos, is there a way to follow up on it? Like, will we see the hours entered into Kronos, or do we just have to wait to see whether or not we get a paycheck?
Fantastic question. I'm not sure I've ever had that specific question before. Okay, so what happens after you fill out the form? You need to get it to a supervisor or myself. There's only 2 people that should be able to sign it. It's either me or your supervisor. I personally would prefer you send it to your supervisor. I have no idea what hours you've worked. Please send it to your supervisor. But as an emergency, I can send it on your behalf. You should be emailed or CC'd on that. So your supervisor should send it to timekeeping. There's really big instructions on the document. It says when done, when signed, send to timekeeping@apu.edu. Once it goes into timekeeping, once they have time to process it, they will go into your Kronos, your historical Kronos hours. They will manually put those hours in as you dictated them. Once that happens, it will go to payroll and processing. And as it gets into that next pay period, those hours that are missed or adjusted will be added onto your paycheck. So who do you follow up with? It would be timekeeping@apu.edu. But again, if it has not crossed that next pay period, I would hold off. Just as a reminder, every time we email those folks for a status update, it does slow them down a little bit in processing some of the requests that we have. Not that you shouldn't. I would just wait 1 pay period before you do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Great question. Is it Shanice?
Yeah, it's Shanice.
Hi, Shanice.
Hello there. Is it possible for us to get retro pay? Because I know that I'm like new as of like last Thursday. So I have to like quickly fill out everything. I-9 is nowhere close to everything being done. So I know I won't be able to be on this pay period for even like this meeting to get just like the 2 hours. So would I fill out the form to get retro pay once I have gotten access and everything to Kronos?
You got it. You're on top of it. Exactly that. As you are in that new, if you got a welcome letter from us, you need to do the I-9 within 72 hours, technically. I know that's not always possible, but try and get it done in 72 hours. You get that done in 72 hours. Everything from the point in which we gave you a welcome letter, you can charge retroly for that. And if you run into problems, you run into challenges, don't remember how to do it, reach out to my team. We'll walk you through it. We're here to serve.
Thank you.
Of course. We're thankful you are here and jumping in to the deep end of the pool, 5 days before school starts? It's fantastic. All right, Amanda.
All right, I think you came up with a new verb, adjuncted. Yeah. So.
Adjuncting, if I said that, I'm not going to take credit for it, but that sounds fantastic.
Good. You said adjuncted.
Adjuncted,
so
yeah.
That's good. I think Merriam-Webster should take that, just like the new word they came up with, the earthquake and the hurricane. What was it? What was the new word they came up with?
Hurricane?
Yeah, somebody coined it and I can't remember what it is.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
I do have one more quick question, actually, because of
Yes.
the last one. So if we have multiple rate codes, which one do we put this meeting on?
Yeah, great question. If you have multiple rate codes, we ask that if you have the option that you put it on the didactic rate versus the clinical rate. Yep. Thank you.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for that. I know that's a really, really important part of your job and we absolutely want to pay you. So thank you for doing that update, Jeff. All right, Brianna, does Brianna have share capability? She probably does.
I see the share button. It looks like it should work.
Perfect. Yes, I'm going to let you take it away. If you weren't on already, I introduced you as one of our full-time faculty members for nursing and public health. And she is also an expert in online learning. So we are very, very grateful to have her. And I'm going to let her take it away and share her presentation.
And Brianna, just so you know, give me about 1.5 minutes to get it onto the agenda, but in 1.5 minutes, I'll have a link to your PowerPoint.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and move my little cameras off over here. So I do have a second screen. So hopefully I'll see hands if they pop up. If you have really deep questions, try and maybe write them in the chat and then I'll get them to them at the end. I do have a tendency to be a bit verbose, so I want to get through this because what I'm really excited about doing with you guys today is a practical exercise. So I want to try and cut down how much I talk so we can get to you guys actually working with the program. So today is all about integrating AI in the classroom. So there are a lot of resources that the wonderful folks in CTLA and the Provost Office are putting together. Mike Trong is amazing and putting together just tons of resources for our full-time and our adjunct faculty on all of the details about AI. So I don't want to spend a bunch of time today teaching you about AI and how to worry about like making sure your courses are AI proof. I actually just attended a workshop a few days ago on AI proofing assignments, and it was wonderful. So there are lots of resources, and I will link some of them in this actual presentation. So what I'm going to get to is actually implementing AI in the classroom. That's going to be my focus for today. So my real goal here is to discuss how to leverage AI's transformative potential in the classroom. The goal here is to see how we can increase student engagement and learning by using these new tools. So we're going to go over a few objectives, and I'm going to try and get through the first two quickly so we can get to the fun part and get to the practical aspect. So we'll define AI, right? We're educators. We always want to know our practical definitions of what we're working with. And so we're going to discuss ways to use it in the classroom and then really get to that practical exercise. So first off, let's define AI, and simply the simulation of human intelligence, right? So artificial intelligence is the simulation of human intelligence processes by machines, particularly computer systems. Now, see this OpenAI citation? OpenAI is the company that has made several AI softwares. So I actually used an AI software called ChatGPT to give me this definition. And you're going to see that citation pop up a bunch of times because I wanted to show you also some of the practical applications of these tools where we can actually use them as part of developing curriculum and presentations like this. So it is not used for everything in this presentation, but anytime you see a citation like that, it was something that I used. So I wanted you to see how we can use that from the faculty standpoint in addition to in the classroom for an assignment. So let's see about what AI can do. It does a variety of tasks, but what makes it so interesting is it can learn from data, can reason, problem solve, and even adapt to new situations. And by doing these tasks, it allows machines to simulate human intelligence and do things like understand language, recognize patterns, and even make decisions. So this is particularly groundbreaking and something that is going to be so useful for us to implement in our classroom. And I'm going to show you a simulation. The activity we're going to be doing later is an actual simulation experience that I'm hoping you enjoy. So there's different examples of AI technologies. You may have heard terms like machine learning, neural networks, things like that. We won't get into the nitty-gritty of those, but I do want to show you some practical tools that you can access quite easily. And some of these you may have already heard of. So most of the students are already using Grammarly. Grammarly is a really popular writing assistance tool. It does use AI to help provide high-level, basically spell check, right? Except I've now downloaded it. Some of my students were using it. And so I thought, I need to know how they're using it to make sure they're using it effectively and that it's not a crutch. So I downloaded it and I found it to be particularly useful. It's basically like Word spell check, but it's in my email, it's, in my PowerPoint. It doesn't matter what program I'm using, it's across my computer. So if you download it to your desktop, you can actually use it in multiple programs. So it's really, really useful. I particularly enjoy it. Most of you have probably heard of Turnitin. Turnitin is a plagiarism checker. It uses AI in its technology. We also have some interesting programs that are AI detectors. So if you're concerned that your students are using AI to generate their papers, they might be. I have already experienced it. There are programs out there that promise to detect AI writing. However, a word of caution. Just as quickly as these new technologies are being designed to detect AI, those AI programs are being improved to beat them. So how good these programs are is not really anything I can say. There are a lot of false positives and a lot of false negatives. So I would not use these as a formal, okay, my student got a 50% AI detection rate, they're going to fail this assignment. I definitely wouldn't go that far because there are false positives and negatives. But they're interesting tools that you may want to check out, and they are going to change as these softwares and programs continue to develop. We can even create videos. There are programs out here. I haven't tried any of these yet myself, but I'm really excited to get into those. So I'm going to be testing some of those out this fall. But I've listed some video creation AI programs as well. But one we're going to use today is that ChatGPT. It is a chatbot, and we'll get into a definition of that very soon. So before we get there, before we get into those practical aspects, let's talk about some common concerns about AI. Some of you may be coming in to this meeting really positive about AI, really excited about where it's going and what our options are and what we can achieve with AI. And some of you may be coming in kind of unsure, and some are going, I don't want anything to do with this AI stuff. It's horrible for education. I am just terrified of it, right? So we have a lot of varying opinions on AI, and wherever you're at, that is perfectly okay. The thing to remember is that with any new technology, there are going to be concerns. There are ethical concerns, academic integrity concerns. I have already experienced having students use AI to do their work in my classroom. And so I have been actively working to AI proof my assignments. I actually just spent the last couple of days completely revamping one of my research courses that I've been teaching the same way for I don't even know how many years, with only small changes. And now I'm rethinking it the entire signature assignment. So there are a lot of dynamic changes that are going to be coming, but I actually think a lot of these can be to our benefit because it will help us get out of those ruts of doing things the way we've always done them and think of new and interesting ways to do them. So I hope you enjoy the activity I'll have for you, because I hope it gives you some encouragement if you are worried about this, that we do have some really great opportunities. Now, there are some things I want to warn you about, particularly with ChatGPT that we're going to be working on. There are issues with accuracy of the data, ability to properly credit sources, potential bias in the information that is generated by AI. So these are things to consider when you're using these tools, because when a lot of these AI tools are using data, it's often very difficult or even impossible to know where those data sources are coming from. And as educators who love everything to be in clear citations, that can be a little bit problematic. So that is something to consider as a strong limitation for AI usage. Creative limitations. Keep in mind that as of now, AI cannot generate a completely unique, brand new, never before seen creative work. It can, however, generate artwork, video, and all sorts of creative content, but it pulls inspiration from different sources. So it cannot create something wholly unique and brand new. It does create something that's like often an amalgamation of other creative works that are out there. So it is a limitation. It is something to keep note of. Finally, some of you may be worried about things like job displacement. I know I've seen a lot of articles about how artificial intelligence and other technologies are replacing jobs. So for me, that was one of my first thoughts was, am I going to be replaced by an AI person and a chatbot? But what I have found while working with AI over the past number of months is a lot of opportunity to take what we bring to the table as humans, that human element that is so important in education and so important in healthcare, and elevate the standard of what we are delivering by using these tools. So I'm hoping that you see some of the opportunity there as well. All right, I want to see how well I'm doing on time. Okay, we're doing okay. Do I have until 8 or do I need to end sooner than that?
No, you have the rest of the time, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions. So
I'm going to talk as quick as I can.
Yes.
And if I'm too fast, then just stop me. So I'm going to
It's
try and
okay.
get through here. So don't be too intimidated by all the text on this page. I will not be reading it all. But if you are interested, so the activity we're going to be doing does require using ChatGPT. If you've never used it before, this QR code will allow you to log in and create an account. If you're not super fancy with QR codes, I will be providing the link in the chat in a few minutes. So we'll get to that. But if you want to get a jump on it, I put the link here for you. And I wanted to give you some definitions. So the first is APU's definition. And so APU defined it as a chatbot that uses artificial intelligence to understand natural language inputs and to generate natural language outputs. And users can have a question and answer style conversation with ChatGPT. It's a really nice summation of what ChatGPT can do. Now, I asked ChatGPT what its own definition is for itself. And this is what it gave me, this big, long definition. And then I said, oh, no. I'm putting this on a slide. Give me something short and sweet. And so the nitty gritty of their definition for themselves is an advanced AI language model designed for dynamic and natural interactive conversations. And I'd actually say this is a pretty good definition. And you're going to see that when we get there. So anyone ever try one of those chat helps where it's like, oh, you have a problem with your credit card being a fraudulent thing on your credit card, and you want to type something in the chat and ask someone for instant help, and then you get this machine and you can tell it's not a real person and it's just guiding you down question 1, 2, 3, and you can tell this really isn't that intelligent. You're not chatting with a real person. Well, this is very different from that. It feels much more organic, much more natural, and communicates in unique language that isn't a series of option 1, 2, and 3 that pops up. It's much more intelligent and interesting and natural of an experience than something like that. So just to give you an example, no, I'm not going to read all the text on this slide either. This is for you to peruse later at your leisure if you're interested. But notice I cited OpenAI at the bottom of this one too. All the text on this except the title was straight from ChatGPT. And I asked it, so I was interested to know, what does AI think AI is good for in higher education? So I asked it, give me some uses for AI in higher education, and this is what it came up with. So take it with a grain of salt because this is their own opinion of their worth. But they thought that personalized learning was going to be a real opportunity by implementing AI. Things like automated grading to speed up processes and get faculty working with the students instead of wasting their time on some of these processes that they don't need as much of their time to be spent on. Early intervention, research assistance, so a variety of aspects of our jobs that it thinks that AI can be a useful tool for. So I'll leave this here for you guys to check out in the slides later, but you might find them interesting. Now before we get into the activity, and we're almost there, so I'm excited about that, let's consider the learning theory, right? So this big, long, fancy word, so our andragogical considerations. I hope I said that right. But the activity we're going to be doing actually applies to 3 of these learning theories. So constructivism, self-directed learning, experiential learning, there's a lot of different learning theories, but this one assignment we're doing can apply to all 3 of these. So we're going to be doing an activity that shows that AI can be used to support student-centered learning. It can be used to create personalized learning resources, and it can even be used to simulate real-life situations and then allow the students to practice their skills in a safe and controlled environment. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing. Now, one thing I want you to pay attention to is when we're using these tools, focus on emphasizing some of these concepts of adult learning theory, things like learner autonomy. We want students to really feel a sense of possession over their learning, right? Control over their learning, this feeling that they're in the driver's seat and they can really guide and direct themselves. Active learning, right? We don't want this to be a passive, they're going to sit there in their chair and talk at them like I'm talking at you guys, right? We want to get to that experiential part where they're actually trying it out like we're going to do in a couple of minutes. We can really focus on personalizing content, fostering student collaboration, a lot of great benefits here. I'll let you read the rest of these later on so we can get to that activity sooner. But let me know later if you have any questions on these. All right, now here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to do two things. One, I am going to describe to you an assignment that we actually piloted just a couple of weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, in the Master of Public Health program in the Research and Theory class. So this is the very first time that we've done this assignment, and I'm really excited about it. And it went quite well. It had a couple of hiccups, so I'll tell you about those. But this was a simulated focus group using ChatGPT. So what the students actually did was use ChatGPT to run a focus group as a researcher, gather qualitative data, and then do an analysis of that data and reflect on their experience. They were able to ask questions of the participants, receive responses, and then analyze that feedback. It was a really cool experience. And this assignment was actually based on an original assignment I created a few months ago, which I'm going to be sharing with you today, and this is what we're going to be working on. And it's a simulated nurse-patient interaction. Now keep in mind, this is a very generic nursing interaction prompt, so it's not going to have the level of detail that you might add if you were to use something similar in your own class. But the idea is for it to be a generic template that anyone could use as a basis for how to go on from there. So we're going to be working on that one, but I'm going to give you a few details about that focus group one first. So time-wise, we're 20 minutes in. I think we're doing okay. So we have a few more minutes to go over this before we get to our practical exercise. So here is our assignment, our overview. So what the students read for their objective was to engage in a simulated focus group using ChatGPT as the participants of the focus group in order to practice collecting and analyzing qualitative data for the use in a public health context. Now, this particular objective can differ depending on how you implement an assignment like this, but this is the scope that we use it for here because this was for a research class. So the goal was, it was a public health class, so we made it public health focused, and we wanted the students to gather qualitative data, something they really don't have time to do in an 8-week semester, but they were able to do it using this technology in a simulated environment. And they had two general goals. One, to practice engaging with participants from diverse backgrounds. Health equity is our concentration, and being able to communicate with people from different backgrounds in an ethical and effective manner and being respectful, all those things are really important. So this is a really great way for them to practice those techniques in a safe, worry-free environment. And if they make a mistake, it's not a big deal. It's just a computer program. So very great way to do it risk-free. And then also to enhance critical thinking. So this is an opportunity for the students to, instead of just take a focus group transcript and analyze it, they got to ask the questions and then get the answers and then analyze that data. So that really let them get into the driver's seat, really use that critical thinking, do that data analysis and interpretation specifically for public health. So it allowed us to basically tailor their experience specifically for the class that we were doing. So here were our 6 basic steps. So we started by creating a simulated conversation with ChatGPT. So they had to enter the provided prompt because you need to instruct ChatGPT on what to do. And I'll show you that in a couple of minutes. So you give it the prompt so it knows how to act. And then you gather your qualitative insights by asking questions. Then you receive the transcript, analyze your data, interpret your results, and then reflect on that experience. And the students overall had a really positive experience in this activity. So before we get to the debrief, this is the overall prompt. No, I'm not going to read this either. Way too much text, but I want to highlight a couple things, and I want you to be able to come back and read this in detail later as necessary. Since it looks like my room is getting incredibly dark, let me just create a little light. There we go. So it looks like the sun's going down, so it's getting darker and darker. So this is our overall prompt. Lots of details. You do not want to read this right now, but I want to show you a couple interesting things. So remember when I told you there were a couple of hiccups? The first few students who tried to submit the assignment didn't submit it the way it was originally intended. Instead of ChatGPT allowing the student to step into the researcher role and ask questions, it generated a pre-built template, transcript for them, having already asked the questions. So it misunderstood the prompt and basically did both sides of the transcript on its own and didn't give the opportunity for the student to ask the questions. So I went in there and I played with it and I worked on it and tried to figure out how to fix it. And it didn't take long to fix it. So I made a few different changes. So I want to show you these changes so that if you were to try and implement this, you would know how to tinker with it to try to get it to work the way you want. So first thing, one of the things that I asked it to do was I said, I would like to use ChatGPT as 3 distinct simulated participants. Notice a little vagueness in my stating here, my phrasing of the sentence. I wanted ChatGPT to be 3 distinct simulated participants, but I really didn't say under what context. So I switched that and tried to make it a little more specific. I said, I would like to use ChatGPT to simulate an active focus group. So I'm particularly using that word simulate so that the system knows, hey, this is the context under which I want you doing what I'm about to tell you to do. And the next sentence, I will ask you a series of questions and you will respond as if you were each of the participants in the following scenario. That sounds specific enough, but apparently not, because ChatGPT got a little confused and went off on its merry way and did its own thing. So I got even more specific. I said, I will play the role of the public health researcher and will ask you, ChatGPT, questions to create a dialogue. You will respond to my questions as if you were different participants in the simulated focus group. So notice how I've created language in here that tells the system, hey, don't give me the questions. I will give you the questions, you give me the answers. Now, I was able to fix this in about 3 minutes and make this work properly. However, when I went back to check on, when I was preparing for this presentation, I really wanted to know which of my fixes made the difference. So I isolated each of the changes and did them one at a time to see what would happen. And I found a couple of really interesting things. The first was these changes I made to the scenario, completely unnecessary. The scenario originally said you, because I was talking to ChatGPT. So I thought, well, maybe that confused it. I'll switch it to a general scenario and not refer to ChatGPT as you. That made no difference whatsoever, completely unnecessary change. So if you're going to make any changes, just do one change at a time, and you can always edit it in the system, and it's really easy to see what will happen after that. Now, one thing that did help was I gave a little more clarity on this first sentence here for the specific instructions. So instead of just saying you, I switched it to instructions for how ChatGPT should respond in the chat. Again, creating a little more language so it knows what its role is. Its role is the respondents, whereas I'm the one asking the questions. Now here's where it gets interesting. This last change that I made actually created unnecessary limitations that damaged the quality of the discussion. And I didn't even realize this till after I'd worked through the whole transcript. The way the transcript worked was I would ask a question, and then participant 1, 2, and 3 would each respond in that order, always the same order. Unless I asked one participant by name and then they'd respond and then the other 2 would respond. I would always get exactly one answer per person. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I don't think normal conversation works that way. It's not, we all sit in a circle and we speak, you know, we each have a number and we always speak in that order in exactly one statement. So natural conversation flows very differently. So when I added this language, thinking that I was fixing a problem, I actually created a new one. I created a stilted conversation that didn't need to be that way. So the wording I used was I, acting as the researcher, will ask various questions and you will respond to one question at a time, providing 3 responses per question, 1 per participant. I thought I was being really clear to tell the system what it had to do. And I was, but I was being too detailed. I was giving it unnecessary limitations. So when you're working with this kind of a system, just remember, you don't always have to give too much detail. It is an intelligent system, right? It's artificial intelligence, but it's intelligent enough that you don't have to give it too much and accidentally limit yourself. So I'm almost done talking, I promise. We're going to get through this debrief and then we're going to get you into that activity. So here's some pros and cons that we found after piloting this assignment. Overall, we had a really positive experience. Even though there were some technical glitches, most of the students enjoyed the experience. And one even said that they had a really negative viewpoint of ChatGPT because they'd heard all these negatives about how it was damaging higher education. And so having the opportunity to do it in an instructor sanctioned activity in class was actually a really great experience for them. They felt like they could try out this new tool that they'd wanted to use but had stayed far away from because they were worried about academic integrity issues. And they were able to do it in a way that was useful and interesting. So it was a fun activity, students enjoyed it, and it allowed them to do something new and learn some new technology. Another thing, most students discovered at least one interesting thing from ChatGPT that they hadn't expected. So for example, when I went through, the prompt is related to improving physical activity in a low-income neighborhood. That was the whole scenario we were using. And one thing that I found really surprising was one of the participants said that the reason the seniors have trouble with physical activity is because the sidewalks are damaged. They don't have safe sidewalks to walk on. I hadn't even thought of that. And so when I read that in the transcript, that spurred me on to think of entirely different questions to ask in the focus group, exactly how you might do real research, qualitative research, where on the cuff, off the cuff, you may find new themes and new things to identify. We were able to simulate that in this activity and come up with things that were not in the prompt. The prompt was very vague. It was a low-income community, and we wanted to increase physical activity. That's pretty much it. There were a few things about focusing on social determinants of health and things like that, but there was nothing in there that told ChatGPT that this hypothetical low-income community had poor sidewalks. It just created that on its own. So it's a really interesting system that allows it to personalize it to different student questions and also kind of create a narrative that the participant or the user of the system wouldn't even anticipate. So very fun experience. Some other benefits: answers are populated instantly. This happens in seconds. Unless you have a really huge request, which may take a couple of minutes, generally it's immediate feedback. So students are able to do the assignment in one sitting, or if they want, they can be flexible. They can do a couple of questions, put it aside, do something else, come back. It's very flexible and allows it to be useful at their time, right? So if students need to do a little piece here and a little piece there, they can totally do that. So it really works well for asynchronous learning, for just homework where they want to do things on their own timeline. It works nicely for that. What else? What did I miss? Let's see. Answers are unique and personalized, right? I think I've already mentioned that. Students ask their own questions, how they want to ask it, and ChatGPT will respond accordingly. So you're not going to have identical answers between the students so long as the activity worked properly. Let's see, cons. Okay, so there are always negatives with new technology, right? There's always limitations, weaknesses. One of those things, as I've clearly demonstrated, is that ChatGPT is sensitive to changes in the instructions provided. One wrong sentence, phrased kind of funny, and it can kind of go off on its own direction. So it kind of has a mind of its own. So you need to give it clear instructions, but if they're overly complicated, you can confuse it. So that's important to remember. Be aware that even if you give students the leeway to use ChatGPT in a sanctioned way, they may find ways to use it in unsanctioned ways too. So just because you're integrating it doesn't mean you don't need to AI proof other aspects of your assignments that you want the students doing with their own mind. So for example, when I finished, so I did the entire activity, I did the whole thematic analysis, finished the whole paper, and then I thought, I wonder if ChatGPT could do that part. And I put the transcript back into a new ChatGPT chat. And I said, please do a thematic analysis on this focus group transcript. And it did it in a few seconds. But I will say, it wasn't as good as mine because it didn't have the level of detail. It didn't have the personal touch. It didn't have all the quotations that I included and just the naturalness of what you get from human speech, because human speech naturally has mistakes, right? Naturally has just not a consistent flow to it that, say, an AI generated speech would. So it was good, but it was probably like a B level, B minus level, and didn't have all the citations that I had added. So be aware that students may try to use it in those ways. If you see a lot of generic language that sounds pretty good, but maybe isn't graduate level, especially if it's a grad class, that's something to be aware of. Let's see, what else? Oh, the issue of bias, the issue of accuracy of sources, we've talked about those. Same thing here, you can't verify where some of the information is coming from. So it's just a limitation to be aware of. So here are just some tips for you based on everything we talked about. Craft your instructions carefully, be flexible, prepare the students in advance, just let them know, hey, something may go wrong. That's okay. Send me an email, I'll help you troubleshoot. Just communicate with them and say, we're using new technology. Sometimes there can be little hiccups, and don't worry about it. As long as you're flexible and you let them know it's not the end of the world, then you can avoid maybe some high stress experiences with the students. So, all right, let's get into our activity. Time-wise, I think we're doing okay. I think we'll have enough time. So you can use this QR code to get into the Google Doc that has the full assignment instructions, or I will go ahead and put the link in the chat. So let me do that for a second here, because you may want to do it on your computer and not on a phone or other device that can do the QR code. So let me just pull that up. Okay, chat, and I do see a few questions. Oh, I think those were not related to me. Okay, so that is the link. It's in the chat now. And then go ahead and get into that activity. Also, real quick, I want to show you, I do have a bit of information here for you. We probably won't get to it afterwards, but it's there. And these are some of those resources I told you about. These are not mine. These are by Mike Trong, Karen Lang, and the Office of the Provost. Wonderful resources for you guys. You've probably received them in other emails, but I wanted to include them here. I actually emailed Mike when I was preparing this presentation. I said, do you have any resources that you want me to share with the adjunct faculty that you think would be valuable? And these are what he sent me. So keep that in mind. If he thinks they're useful, I guarantee you they are. So let's pull up our assignment. Okay. So looks like plenty of you are getting into this, so that's good. And so right here at the top of the assignment, I've added the link to ChatGPT. So if you haven't created an account yet, then go ahead and open up this link. If you have an account, just go ahead and log in. If you haven't, if you don't, click sign up. And it's really easy. You can add an email, or if you have your APU email address, I just created it with my Google account for APU. If you don't have that yet and you have a different Google account or a Microsoft account or Apple account, you can do it through any of those as well. So it shouldn't take long. It's relatively simple to do, but give that a try. While you guys are doing that, I will show you what to do once you've logged in. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. And there are actually 3 different programs on here. There's ChatGPT, DALL-E, API, and API. DALL-E actually does images and art. So if you ask it to create you a painting of a little boy on the beach with a dog, it will do it. It will take inspiration from different artwork already in existence, and it will make that image, which is pretty cool. And then we have API does different models and tools for application in business. So that's not what we're looking for. So we want ChatGPT. So while you all are figuring out how to get in here, I'll just give you a couple little things of rundown. Once you open it, it should right away put you into a new chat. You can see on the left that it actually keeps a running list of all of your chats that you have before. You can see how many I've been using. And you can delete them, but these are the ones that I just haven't bothered to delete, or I wanted to keep access to so I could go back to them. But you can do something really simple with this and just ask it a question, right? So this is a chat bot, and it will respond to whatever your requests are. So I could do something like, I'm going to do a question that I know it can't answer. So what time is sunset today? And it's going to tell me, sorry, can't do it. Why? Because it only has data up until September 2021. Anything more modern than that, and it just doesn't have access to the information. So keep that in mind as a limitation. If you want the students to talk about things that are post September 2021, then they're going to have to give the information to ChatGPT. It's not going to be able to access that information independently. But it couldn't do that, right? Okay, so how about what time was sunset on Christmas in 2020? It's going to tell me it can't, right? I didn't give it enough information, right? I didn't tell it where. Okay, so let's give it more details. I'm in Los Angeles. Now notice the language here. I didn't have to rephrase my whole question. It already has the context of the rest of the conversation, much like how you would talk with a person. I don't have to say, what time was sunset on Christmas in 2020 in Los Angeles? I just had to say, hey, that's where I'm at. And so it understood, hey, I want you to answer that question that you couldn't answer before. And it was able to do it. So it's pretty intuitive and very interesting. And it'll straight up tell you if it can't answer a question. So is there anyone who's having tons of trouble? Does everybody feel like they're getting into it okay?
Yes, do we copy and paste only the first paragraph or the whole thing?
Mm-hmm. Yep, so what we're gonna do is step 4 is looking at the instructions. So these are the assignment instructions. Keep in mind, this is what all the students get, so you don't have to do all these steps, but this is the objective that the students have. So the point is to engage in a simulated patient scenario. And so this is the prompt we're going to copy paste. So you're going to just copy this text right here and put it into ChatGPT. I have already phrased it in a way that should instruct ChatGPT on how to act. So it's going to use this scenario, a 60-year-old female patient with, they're in the ED with severe abdominal pain, bloating, changes in bowel habits. They have a history of IBS. So all these details, right? Just a few, not a lot of details. So ChatGPT is going to create those other details as you ask it questions. So copy and paste that information, go back into your chat, and then copy and paste it here. You can click enter or click this button here. But ideally, what you should get is a prompt that says, okay, I'm ready, go ahead and ask your questions. Now, if you type this in and it says something, it just starts giving you a transcript. It's funny because I've used this exact same prompt and had it do this like it's supposed to and have it not. So sometimes for some reason ChatGPT can get confused even with the same words. So if that happens, then hang tight in the room. I'm going to break you guys up into breakout rooms. And if you're having trouble, just hang tight and I'll try and walk you through any fixes. But hopefully
Mine's doing both. Yeah.
It's doing both?
The patient and the nurse.
All right. So isn't that funny? It's the exact same prompt. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go in here. I'm going to do it here. I'm going to say, wait to respond until I start asking you questions. See what that does.
Okay.
Try that out. And this is where we have to be flexible. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to edit. So that's a cool thing we can do. We can actually edit our original request and it'll regenerate. So save and submit. So it's ready. So you guys try it out and let me know what you think. Is it working?
Of course, take your time.
Brianna, this is Marie Podboy. I'm having trouble trying to find your scenario to cut and paste or to copy and paste.
It's on the second page of the Google Doc. So we're on the first page here.
Okay.
If you scroll to the second page, it's this text in italics.
Okay. I did not scroll down far enough. Thank you.
Yeah, there is a lot of information in this document. Keep in mind, it's for your perusal later. So that you have more information once the workshop is over. But so everybody can give that a try. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break you up into breakout rooms. Do I have the ability to do that, or do I need, Jeff, do you need to do that? Do I have enough?
I don't know. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can give you permission to do that.
Okay. I'm so used to being in my own class that I didn't even think about
try it now. See if it works. If not, I'll make you host.
Woohoo, breakout rooms. Okay, sweet. So let's do, how many people do we have? We have a lot of people.
We have 105. Yeah.
Okay, so let's do 12 breakout rooms. So that way we don't have way too many people.
Can I make a quick, just a quick announcement for some of those that might be struggling to get to that Google Doc? I just put it onto the agenda. If for whatever reason you lost how to get to it, I put the Google Doc on the agenda.
Perfect. And I'm going to stay in this main room and answer any questions for anyone who's stuck. So everybody else who's not stuck, go ahead and join a breakout room. And then I will close out the breakout rooms and bring you guys back for the Q&A. Also, before I do that, there is a Google form for you guys to answer these questions. So chat amongst yourselves. You can use these questions to guide your conversation. And then please fill out the form individually. And what I'm going to do is I won't have time to go through it today during our session, but I'm going to go through these and put all the responses together and then send it out so that way you guys can get some interesting insights from each other, since that can be particularly valuable. So go ahead and join your groups And anyone who's struggling, please just stay here with me and I will help you through it.
And you said 5 minutes in the group, right?
No, at least 5 minutes asking questions and then give some discussion. I'll bring you back. Well, we're losing a little bit of time. I'll try to bring you back. We'll probably aim for like 7:50 to bring you guys back.
Yeah, 6 minutes in the group. That sounds good.
Okay. All right. And then anybody who's still here.
I'm still here. Marika,
Are you still struggling?
Did you open the breakout room?
How do I get in the group?
Did you open the breakout
it would help if I pressed open all rooms.
Yeah. Okay, now
There
we go.
Okay, that's open.
Yep, people are jumping in now. I see it.
Perfect.
Brianna, I can't, like, mine won't verify my phone number. It just keeps like circling, so I can't finish creating my account.
Oh no. Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I like went out and went back in and tried it again, and it's still like just thinking.
Requiring a phone number. Okay, I didn't remember that. I think I might vaguely remember that. Let me see.
Just to actually like because I don't have Chat GPT, so I had to create the account. It verified my email like no problem, but it's not letting me do my phone number.
Huh. That's really odd.
Let me.
Somebody else had the same problem?
No, it let me verify my phone, but when I sign in my phone, everything, and then all I see is the black thing and say new chat. Am I in the right place?
Yeah, it should look, if you click on this and go into this, it's thinking, what is happening? There we go. Yeah, so you should see this down here at the bottom is where you type in your questions and you put in your prompt. And it's okay if this doesn't work for everybody, because that's part of the experiment, is to see what goes wrong, because that's what's going to happen to students. So I'll be happy to stay late for anybody else, or create another Zoom for anyone who wants to hang out with me and work on this, if they want to figure it out. But it should look like this, and you can just ask it, put in your content here. Let me try.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
It
no.
shows exactly on my screen, like the new chat on the top, and on the bottom, it should show the content, but it didn't show like sunset time today or IBS.
Oh no, it won't. It won't show that content because that's in mine. So you can just do a new chat and then.
But I didn't see the new chart. It just cut off on because I'm using the phone to do it.
Oh,
so
can you scroll?
So
try just typing a couple of letters and see if something happens.
it didn't type anything.
Okay.
It's just like black out, and then the on the other side is gray out.
Try clicking. You said there's a new chat button.
Yeah, it says new chat.
Try clicking that and see what happens.
That one, and then it say upgrade to plus.
No, you don't need to upgrade.
My email.
Yeah, you can just
email. That's it.
You can just do the free one. You don't need to upgrade.
The GPT 3.5. See, I don't have that option.
Now, I haven't used it on my phone before, so let me try that. Open.
But because I want to see you, so that I use the phone.
Let's see. New login. Is anyone else having any different problem besides these? While I'm trying to work on this one. Okay. Does it look like this? I don't know if you, it's trying to block out my, it doesn't want to show because it knows it's not my body. So it's trying to, let me see if I can turn off my background. really dark in here since it was very bright when I started this meeting. Okay, does it look like this? Where it's got just this at the bottom? No, it doesn't? Huh. Okay.
Brianna, I've lost my group.
Oh no, let me see if I can
I don't know how to get back to them.
Nancy, do you see an option at the bottom where it says breakout rooms?
Of the shared screen, I'm looking at Brianna's shared screen.
What
here,
room
let
were
me
you in?
close.
Do you
I'll turn
remember?
off the share. That might help.
I'm gonna move her. I just need to know. Do you remember what room you were in?
Maybe 12, maybe.
Okay, moving you there.
Thank you.
No problem.
So are there any other problems we're having? So we're having a little bit of trouble using it on a phone. So that's good information to have. So you can actually put that into the form and say, hey, I wasn't able to do it because it wouldn't work on my phone. The phone number didn't work, right? So available in other languages, that's a great question. Actually, ChatGPT can be used to do translations. So you can actually type out a transcript or say a speech or a lecture. And let's say you have a student who is not an English as a first language and has another language, you can ask it to do the translation for you and then share that. So that's interesting. Now, obviously, if you don't know the second language, you can't verify its accuracy quite so well unless you have a native speaker check it. But it does have different language capabilities. Okay, unable to access any documents and log in. Okay, so let me put the link to it in the chat again. And it's okay if not everybody was able to do this time. I kind of figured that might happen. We'd have a handful. But all of these resources will be available to you to try out after the meeting. So let me put this in the chat again. And it's anyone with a link, so you don't have to have an APU email to be able to do this. So there's the Google Doc to the instructions, which has the link to ChatGPT and all of that stuff as well. Yeah, so I had a question, can we create a scenario in Spanish and ask the students the questions in Spanish? I don't see why not. Now, I haven't done it myself, so I'm not going to say, 100%, but most likely, I don't see why it shouldn't be able to do that. So that's something I would love to test, actually. So if you would like to try that out with me on another day, send me an email and I'd happily work with you. I don't speak Spanish, so I wouldn't be able to verify its accuracy. But if you wanted some backup while trying to work with it, just let me know. All right, any other questions or comments or difficulties? Okay, so Jennifer not allowed to create an account. Yeah, so that's the funny thing with technology. We're going to have issues where a student is stuck and like, I don't know why it wouldn't allow me to create an account. So definitely something that, so go ahead when you go ahead and fill out that form and say, I couldn't do it. It wouldn't let me fill out an account. So I'd love to find out how many faculty struggled with that to get an idea, because again, when we implement this in our classrooms, we're going to see these problems. And then anybody who wants to, I'd be happy to meet on another day or later and kind of walk through these things with you guys. Let's let everyone know. We'll give them 60 seconds. And then I'm going to pull up that form as well to see if we have any responses on it thus far. Oh, I need to do it from my perspective. Okay, perfect. Okay, So thank you. Is it Noe? Is that how you pronounce it? Did I get that right?
That is correct, Ms. Brianna. That is correct.
I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
Sure. I just had a quick question. How would I was able to create with my group. I was able to create a new chat, like just implementing a chest pain patient, just kind of changed a couple of the features in a 6-year-old patient. Now, how would I assign that to, let's say, if I had a group of 12 students and I wanted to assign it to just 3 students specifically. So 3 students work on chest pain, 3 students work on heart failure, 3 students work on cardiomyopathy. How can do I first create the template and then assign like a Google Doc? That's my only.
Well, you can do it a couple ways, but just like you would any other multiple option assignment. So if we look at these instructions again, where is my document? Here. So if we look at the assignment instructions, so I shared with you guys the full look of the assignment. If you had it, you could say, here's scenario 1, here's scenario 2, or here's scenario 3. And you could assign, say, you're assigned to scenario 1, you're to 2, you're to 3. So you can just put it in Canvas in your original assignment, and it's no more technologically difficult. You just remind them, hey, only copy and paste the text from your assigned scenario. So I would say that's probably the easiest way of doing it. Now, if you're getting higher level and you want them, let's say you've done an assignment already with them and they know how to do it and you want them to get even more technical, you could not give them the scenario. You could say, I want you to pick your own scenario. Give a few details about a patient that you want to have a conversation with, and even let the student pick. There's so many customizable options here that you could do, where particularly if you're getting to, say, graduate level, and you want things to be a lot more interesting, you can give them that opportunity. Or you can say, here's 3 scenarios, pick one. But if you're really interested, you are welcome to try creating your own scenario and even open that up just as an option.
My other question was if I wanted to send it to 3 students to make as a group project in the class.
Okay.
Then how do I do that?
Well, you can do that. That's a Canvas thing. So in Canvas, there's a way to make them group assignments. So what I can do is, if you want, there's plenty of resources on Canvas, but you can create a group activity. And then when one person submits the document, then it would submit for all of the people in the group. What I would do is just give them specific instructions that say, make sure, because only one person will be able to access it at the same time. Either tell them meet on a Zoom meeting and have one person type the input while the rest of you are talking, or meet in person, right, and all work together. So if you're going to do this as kind of a group interaction, then I don't think there's a way for people to all log into the same chat and add to it yet, but don't quote me on this. But I will look into that, because that's actually, that's a question. I need to write that down. Hold on. See, this is the problem. When I talk to faculty and they ask wonderful questions, then I have to write it down and research it later.
They'll need to log in. They need to register, right? They can use their APU address to register into that, like you showed us as well.
Yeah,
Correct.
they absolutely can. Or any other email. It doesn't really matter. Whatever email they're comfortable with using for group collaboration. So I'm going to look more into that group collaboration. This is all really new. So I created this original assignment just about 3 months ago, and then used this as inspiration to craft that assignment. So that is the first time, the focus group is the first time it's actually been used. And so I'd love to see how any of you, if you're interested in using something like this and would like my help, send me an email and I'd be happy to meet with you to create or fine-tune something like this to actually use in your classroom. I'm going to be using.
Could you just very quickly go through the submission guidelines that were in your assignment? Because it says in the left-hand column of ChatGPT, find the name, link, copy.
Wonderful question. Excellent.
Thanks.
I'm really glad you brought that up. So part of the instructions was, it's one thing to have the students use ChatGPT, and it's another thing for you to be able to verify how they used it. So ChatGPT has a wonderful feature here, if I can find the right thing. Where are you? Oh, it's over here. Multiple screens. Here we go. So ChatGPT has an option here. So this sunset time today, this chat, I can go back to it. And then I can actually, up at the top, I can click this share chat button. So if I click on this share chat button, it will allow me to create this page that other people will be able to view later without actually changing it. So I can copy the link and then have the students post it. So I give them those instructions here. So they have to do all these steps. And then when they submit in Canvas, I have them do, now it looks like they changed where the share button was, because the share button used to be next to the name. So I'm going to change this. And I'll comment in here so you guys can see this. So keep in mind, you know, when I put these instructions together, that has now since changed because these programs are constantly being updated. So it's a good idea just to run through an assignment like this at the beginning of each semester, just to make sure it's still working properly, since things are changing so rapidly. So is everybody been able to find that link? That spot in the chat? Let me pull it up again.
You mean yes.
The share chat button?
Yeah.
So that's how you would access that. So by giving them those instructions, they have to submit the link to the chat and their write-up. That way, you can actually verify they did the assignment the way you asked them to and didn't do more or less, at least within that chat. Now, can they open up a second chat and do other things? Sure. But this at least will help give a little bit of oversight to let them know, hey, I'm going to be reading what you're doing. So that can create a little bit of continuity and, you know, a little oversight there. Any more questions?
I have a question. In here, it looks like they can do kind of almost like a lit search, you know, from this. And my concern would be, so if they're supposed to be doing research, it seems like it would be fairly easy to say you have done qualitative research and you're taking information from this chat GPT and turning it into looking like you're doing a study.
Yep.
And so the other thing is if they're always getting their information from this, it would seem like some of the information would be kind of almost incestuous because it's from the same.
Creative way to describe it, because Mike Trong described this, and I am not nearly as much of an expert as him, so he's the one to go to on this, but he described how AI basically at a certain point can kind of cannibalize itself, where it starts to repeat the same information so many times that that's all it'll start to say. So there is that worry that AI may get to that point. Now, hopefully with human ingenuity, we'll keep working on these things to address those issues. But I would say, I'll tell you what, I teach undergrad research. And one of the first things I did was go, can they write my final paper? They absolutely can. So I deleted the final paper. So basically I spent the last 4 days recreating an entire signature assignment, which my other colleagues who teach that class, I'll be informing them and letting them know what I'm doing. But it's important to be aware that there are other things. Now, I actually created an AI assignment for them to do. So what I created, and I just invented it 2 days ago, so it needs a little fine tuning, but was I'm having them, instead of writing a paper, use the research they've already done to use AI to generate a research proposal for a new study and then critique the proposal. So what I'm doing is, instead of having them create a proposal, which is too high level for undergrad, having AI do it for them and then having them use their critical knowledge of the articles that they've already shown me they can analyze, because they have to give me PDFs. I'm making them do screencasts of their articles, all things that verify their work. Then they do the critique and they have to cite the articles as evidence. So I say, critique this based on the evidence from these 10 articles you've already looked at. So there are ways you can integrate that into your assignments to work on that. Now, I know we're past our time, and so people may need to leave, but I'm happy to stay a little longer for anyone who has questions.
Yeah, I would just question the validity and reliability of the information they're receiving.
Absolutely, and it's a really important thing to consider. And you know, I tried this out, and I copy and pasted an entire article into ChatGPT, and I said, make me a table of evidence, and it did it. It can even make tables. So like there are ethical considerations that we need to be aware of.
Yes, it's kind of scary.
It is, but that's why I want to be knowledgeable and be aware. So if anybody wants to pick my brain or has any ideas, who's been working on these kinds of things as well, please feel free to email me. It's bpack@apu. So
I have one more question. Do you know if the library at APU, if they allow the students, like, will they fund the students to have Grammarly and EndNote and things like that to help them keep track of stuff? I know at Point Loma they did.
Grammarly. Grammarly is definitely like sanctioned, right? I've heard Mike Trong talk about it and how it's a recommended tool. So I think there's a lot of changes going on. So I couldn't say what things are right now, but I would check out some of those resources. And if you have any questions of a specific nature like that, I would reach out to Mike Trong and his department directly.
Yeah.
Someone commented APU has EndNote for the students in the library.
Grammarly is approved.
Grammarly is approved. Okay. Now I will say, Grammarly did just implement a new AI portion. So it used to just be writing help as like grammar. Now they have a writing generating aspect. So we also need to be aware these tools are changing.
Yeah, I saw one was like, oh, that was kind of clumsy the way you stated it. Would you rather say this? Oh, yes. And it looks like you're writing, but it really is not.
Yeah.
I wanted to just add on 2 comments because I've attended a couple of other AI in higher education this summer. One thing is that has been suggested by faculty is that students need to you post the PDF of the articles that they cite in their papers.
Exactly.
So it's not just the citation, they have to upload the PDF for us to see it's a real legit article, because AI has created research, not the paper. They've created references that is hallucinated. They're not real.
Yeah.
Okay, so and so to guard against that is the students are going to have to go through the work. I think it just makes sense that they need to upload the PDF of every article that they put in any citation or every reference list. The other thing is that where I've been getting a lot of the stuff about what AI wreaks havoc on research is the Retraction Watch website. It's just a hoot to read every week anyway, but not really. But, you know, all the things that are being retracted. And a lot of retraction, especially in the last 2 months, have picked up because of AI usage. And most of the major healthcare publishers now, from Wolters Kluwer's and Springer and British Medical Journal, are now forbidding any use of AI in the writing of the articles. Earlier this year, they were saying ChatGPT had to be listed as an author. Now they're saying absolutely no use of it in the article. So that's changing research as we speak. But Retraction Watch is where I kind of get a lot of that. Anyway, for what it's worth.
I can think that could be really damaging to the respect that the medical community has, because we have been questioned lately anyhow with the COVID. And I think that could be really damaging to the medical community.
I think the thing about these new technologies is we don't have answers for how this is going to impact education, nursing, healthcare in general in the next 5 years. It's changing so rapidly, we really don't know where we're going. So the best we can do, at least from my perspective, what I'm going to be doing is trying to stay aware, learn how to use the tools, learn the boundaries. And Catherine, thank you so much for sharing that, because that's important to know, is the changing policies, because we may have a policy today that may change next month or 6 months or 2 years from now. And these programs are constantly evolving. So,
and one thing too, for research and ethics, especially for qualitative research, that student may we have to warn them. We have to think ahead and warn them that if they think, okay, I've got my my clients that I've queried, and I'm going to upload their answers and ask ChatGPT to help me analyze it. We have breached their privacy now, because now their answers are part of the worldwide collective, so they cannot use ChatGPT to analyze.
That is a really good point. In fact, I'm going to write that down, because once more, that's an excellent point. And I'm going to talk about that in my research class, because that's really important to note, is that we may think we're just putting it in this generic tool, but every time you add to ChatGPT, you're adding to the knowledge it uses to generate its information. So your knowledge that you're adding can be spit back out to anybody else's chats. It's not going to quote you and not say where it came from, but that doesn't mean that that's an ethical use of that information. So that's a really good point. So I think talking about that in research, and so our application in the classroom is often a little less strict than application in the profession, right? In the classroom, when we do a simulation with fake data and we're just having them practice, that's very different than now go out and use real world data, real patient data, and do these kinds of things. So I think those are really important ethical considerations.
It should be on the same level as using Wikipedia. Like you just don't do it.
Absolutely. And I would say ChatGPT is kind of like the AI version of Wikipedia.
Yeah.
It's taking all this collective information out there.
Right.
That's a really good point.
Cited or not cited, it's just, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
and Catherine used the term hallucinated. That is a term they're using where if, like, let's say you ask it, write me a 5-page paper with references and citations in APA format, and it'll do it, but you try to find one of those sources, it hallucinates the source. It takes a title from one article, an author from another article, a journal from another article, and puts them together, and it looks real, and it's not real.
The media must be using this.
Yeah. And the students are using it, and that's one way, if you want a trick to catch your students if they're using it when they're not supposed to, check their sources. Check to see if they exist. And if you can't find them, you are probably hallucinated. I've caught him. I've already caught him doing it. So we didn't have policy in place yet, so it was a little more like, I see what you're doing. Let's adjust. But you know, we now have language for what policies you can have in your own classroom. So that's part of the resources I added from Mike Trong and the provost office. So I would check those out.
Thank you for slashing through the bushes and cutting the way for us, the rest of us.
This was terrific.
Well,
Yeah,
good. I'm
you.
so glad you guys enjoyed it. I know I'm really passionate. I as soon as I created this assignment, I was like, ooh, I'm so excited. I love creating a new assignment. I'm a total nerd. But having other people enjoy it, I'm like, wonderful. Okay, it's not just me.
Thank you for having the participant section, because that made all the difference for me.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brianna. I think you just gave yourself another full-time job helping create assignments.
I keep doing that. You know, every time I meet with the public health department, Marissa's really good at this. We always joke about it. Every time I leave a meeting with her, I've accidentally assigned myself a new job. So apparently it's a bad trend of mine. So, but
thanks so much.
Well,
Thank
if anyone
you.
has any other questions, send me an email. Please fill out that form, both forms. There's the for the CEUs, but then there's also the debrief form in the assignment as well. So, yeah.
Is Jeff still on?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not. I left.
He's checked out.
I can't get into the poll, Jeff, is Marie Podboy, because it's only for APU access. So
Okay, I'll change that if you want to give me a second. It will probably take a second to do, but yeah, I will do that for you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, Marie. I miss you.
Hi, miss you guys.
All right.
Marie, that's been solved. If you just refresh, that poll's been solved so that you can access it no matter what email address you use.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Brianna, thank you so much. I think we could spend hours on this, and I'm already trying to see what I can do with it and not be afraid of it. But I agree that checking the references is probably going to be our best bet against having people completely.
And I will say, sometimes the students are not very clever in how they add it in. I did see, now this was not one of my students, this was not an APU student, but I did see a social media post about a student who submitted a paper, and the first paragraph was, as a AI chatbot, I cannot do blah, blah, blah.
Oh, they didn't.
They gave themselves away. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say really quick, I'm on my phone, so because I'm still commuting home from my clinic, but I have used it with my students to help them create a concept map for particular topics. But then once ChatGPT creates the concept map for, say like acute cardiomyopathy or something, then I encourage them to go and double check all of that flow and all of those concepts. And then it's like another way to like study. It's like another study tool, for people who need, something else besides just taking notes and that kind
That's
of thing.
excellent. That's a great way to do it. That's the style that I'm going to be using in my research class, where I have them generate the proposal with AI, but then critique it. So
exactly.
Because especially because it's also a great way to inspire our lower level, our undergrad students, to a higher level of analysis, like go higher up on Bloom's taxonomy than they would normally be able to do, because they don't have all those other skills to be able to say put together a really good research proposal. But if we generate it and then critique it, they're still getting pieces of that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do. So there's some opportunity there.
That's one caution that's been stated as well, is that you can start to get the feel for ChatGPT language. It's a little bit stilted. It's not quite like what we would know, but there's a huge caution because it's only stilted to native English speakers. But everybody who is an ESL, even if they're very, very fluent in spoken English, written languages are always slower to come to literacy, and their writing is already a little bit stilted, and people are recognizing in the style that ChatGPT writes. And so you can't just go on the fact that the language feels stilted and you're thinking, oh, this student has written it with ChatGPT.
Exactly. And it goes to intention as well. Sometimes the students may use a tool like Grammarly. Like I had a student, I tried one of those AI detectors, and his discussion post came up as like 90% AI generated. And so I didn't give him 0 points or anything, but I reached out and I said, hey, I noticed this was, can we talk? And so we met on Zoom and we chatted about it. And I said, can you share with me your process? And he says, I don't know why, he was kind of freaking out. So I was like, don't worry, you're not in trouble. I just want to talk, I just want to see what your process is to see why it did this. And so he overly uses Grammarly because he didn't have the confidence in his writing ability. So as I was going through his posts with him, I was noticing he was using Grammarly even when he shouldn't have. He was so trusting of it that he was accepting recommendations that actually damaged his writing, made it too generic, and took out facts or things that made it actually gave it value. So we have to warn the students of that too. Don't overly trust these programs. And for me, don't overly trust the AI detectors, because he was using AI, but it was his content. And so, we have to be careful of that too. And just because it says 0% and it's totally human written doesn't mean it was. They have scrubbers that will scrub the content that is 100% AI generated and make it look like it's human generated. April, you had the same thing with student using Grammarly?
We did too for our comprehensive exam. It kept popping up. AI. I don't think students understand that Grammarly is AI, and that it shows up quite a bit on the plagiarism.
I think we're so used to spell check that we think it's just that.
Amanda,
yes.
Don't forget to send the evaluation form.
Yes. I think Jeff is going
to. The evaluation form's in the agenda, in her section. There's 3 links. Third link is the evaluation form.
Do you think it could also go out to the group, Jeff? Because
if we send a recap, I was